Welcome to Sleepy Classic Tales. Tonight, we listen to a calm, short version of a special classic, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, by Robert Louis Stevenson, first published in 1886. As always, this is our own gently told and easy-to-follow retelling, narrated at a slow and quiet pace, perfect for falling asleep. The story begins on a quiet street in London. The lawyer, Mr. Utterson, a reserved and thoughtful man, is walking with his cousin, Mr. Enfield. As they stroll through the calm evening, they pass a peculiar door set into the wall of a building. It looks neglected and strange, with chipped paint and an unsettling presence. Enfield tells Utterson that he once witnessed a disturbing incident at this very door. Late at night, a dark figure collided with a young girl in the street. The child fell and cried out in pain. The man did not stop. He showed no concern, no remorse, as if something inside him was empty. The girl's family arrived, accompanied by a doctor, and confronted the man. Though hostile at first, he eventually agreed to pay compensation. He disappeared through the strange door and returned with a check, one bearing the name of a respected London gentleman, Dr. Henry Jekyll. Yet something was deeply wrong. The man who emerged from the door could not have been Jekyll himself. He was small, deformed in an indefinable way, and inspired an instinctive sense of disgust in everyone who encountered him. Enfield finally reveals the man's name, Mr. Edward Hyde. Utterson grows quiet. Dr. Jekyll is not a stranger to him. He is an old and trusted friend. That night, Mr. Utterson cannot sleep. He takes out an old document, Dr. Jekyll's will. As he reads it again, his unease deepens. Jekyll has stipulated that in the event of his death, or even his unexplained disappearance, his entire estate shall pass to Edward Hyde. Utterson cannot understand it. Why would a respectable doctor leave everything to such a disturbing man? Determined to protect his friend, Utterson begins to look for Hyde. After several days, he encounters him in a narrow side street. Utterson addresses him politely, but Hyde reacts coldly and with hostility. Though nothing outwardly monstrous can be named, something about Hyde feels profoundly wrong. Utterson experiences a strong mixture of fear and repulsion without being able to explain it. He soon learns that Hyde possesses a key to the strange door and can enter and leave Jekyll's house freely. Utterson senses that something dangerous is growing beneath the surface. A few days later, Utterson is invited to a dinner hosted by Dr. Jekyll. Jekyll is an esteemed physician, friendly, educated, and known for his generosity. The evening passes pleasantly. The guests converse lightly about everyday matters and London society. After the others leave, Utterson stays behind. He wants clarity. When they are alone, Utterson carefully mentions the will and Hyde. A brief flicker crosses Jekyll's face, quickly replaced by a smile that appears too sudden. Jekyll dismisses Utterson's concerns, calling the will a private precaution and insisting that Hyde can be trusted. Yet his voice betrays him. It sounds rushed and defensive. Jekyll asks Utterson for a promise. If anything should happen to him, Utterson must respect the will and allow Hyde his rights. Utterson senses that Jekyll is deeply divided inside, but all further questions are firmly blocked. It feels as though Jekyll is guarding a secret too heavy to share. Time passes. London drifts through fog and rain, wrapped in a somber atmosphere. One night, a terrible crime occurs. A maid, looking out of her window late at night, witnesses a shocking scene beneath a street lamp. She sees an elderly gentleman with white hair and a smaller, restless man she recognizes as Mr. Hyde. At first, they appear to be speaking calmly. Then, something changes. Hyde suddenly erupts with unnatural fury. He attacks the old man, striking him repeatedly with savage violence, far beyond what is necessary to kill. The maid screams as Hyde continues until the body lies motionless. Hyde drops the cane he used and disappears into the dark streets. The police identify the victim the next morning. It is Sir Danvers Carew, a respected politician. In his pocket is a calling card belonging to Mr. Utterson. The police visit Utterson, who is deeply shaken. He confirms that he knows Hyde and agrees to lead them to Hyde's residence. The apartment is located in a neglected part of the city. Inside they find fine furniture and signs of wealth, but everything appears used without care, as if temporary. Hyde is gone. No one knows where he fled. Torn clothes and signs of haste suggest a sudden escape. In the fireplace, they discover remnants of a burned check. Utterson recognizes the handwriting immediately. It belongs to Dr. Jekyll. Hyde has vanished, but everywhere he has been, an invisible line leads back to Jekyll. In the days following the murder, Utterson visits Jekyll. The doctor looks changed, paler, tired, shaken. He assures Utterson that he has ended all contact with Hyde. He even shows him a letter, supposedly written by Hyde, stating that he will disappear and no longer burden Jekyll's life. Utterson feels relieved, but not convinced. Later, he has the letter examined by a handwriting expert. The writing appears different, yet strangely familiar, as if the same hand were imitating two styles. The troubling suspicion begins to form. What if Jekyll and Hyde are far more closely connected than anyone suspects? Several weeks pass. Hyde remains unseen, but Jekyll becomes increasingly withdrawn, rarely leaving his house. One day, Utterson walks with Enfield and passes Jekyll's home. They notice Jekyll sitting at an upstairs window, pale but seemingly glad to see them. They exchange a few words. Suddenly, Jekyll's expression freezes. His face twists with something inhuman, something beyond pain. Without warning, he slams the window shut. Utterson and Enfield stand in silence. Whatever Jekyll experienced, they know it was not human. Sometime later, Utterson receives a frantic visit from Poole, Jekyll's longtime servant. Poole is pale and shaking. He begs Utterson to come at once. Something terrible has happened. At Jekyll's house, the servants whisper in fear. Poole explains that Jekyll has locked himself in his laboratory for days. No one has seen him. They hear only a strange, high-pitched voice, certainly not the doctor's. Poole confesses what he hardly dares to say. He believes the man inside is not Dr. Jekyll. Utterson and Poole go to the laboratory wing. From inside, they hear nervous footsteps and a thin, unfamiliar voice. Poole is convinced this is not Jekyll. Utterson decides they must break down the door. With axes, they strike the heavy wood until it gives way. Inside, the laboratory is dimly lit. On the floor lies a small, twisted body. It is Edward Hyde, dead. Jekyll is nowhere to be found. There are no signs of struggle, no evidence of escape. On a table lies a sealed envelope addressed to Utterson, written in Jekyll's hand. Utterson knows this contains the truth. He takes it home, waits until late at night, and opens it. Utterson first opens a letter from Dr. Lanyon, a mutual friend who recently died after a sudden illness. Lanyon writes that he witnessed something so terrible that it shattered his life. He warns Utterson not to read further until Jekyll is dead or gone. Beneath it lies a second sealed packet. Utterson opens it and reads, Lanyon describes receiving a desperate letter from Jekyll begging him to retrieve chemicals from his laboratory and give them to a man who would come at midnight. That man arrived, Edward Hyde. Hyde mixed the potion, drank it, and before Lanyon's eyes transformed into Dr. Jekyll. Lanyon writes that his mind could not endure the truth and that this revelation would kill him. Shortly afterward, he died. Utterson then reads Jekyll's own confession. Jekyll explains that he always felt divided between good and evil. Believing the human soul could be separated, he created a potion that split his nature. Jekyll became the moral self. Hyde embodied pure impulse, cruelty, and desire. At first, Jekyll enjoyed the freedom, but Hyde grew stronger, more violent. Eventually, transformations began to occur without the potion. Jekyll lost control. Knowing Hyde would ultimately erase him, Jekyll chose to end both lives. Utterson understands at last. Jekyll was not a victim of another man. Hyde was Jekyll. The enemy he feared lived within him. In the end, Jekyll's final act was a desperate attempt to stop Hyde forever. How exactly it happened remains unknown. But Hyde died, and with him, Jekyll. Utterson sits awake until dawn. He realizes that Jekyll was not a monster, but a man torn by inner conflict. By trying to separate his darker side instead of accepting responsibility for it, he created a living shadow. Hyde. Utterson leaves Jekyll's house in silence. The laboratory is still. The door closes softly behind him. London awakens to a new day. Somewhere, the memory lingers of a man who was two, and of an experiment that crossed the boundaries of the soul. That was our calm, short version of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. Perhaps you wondered whether Mr. Hyde is truly a separate being or simply Dr. Jekyll without conscience, why Hyde grows more violent over time, and how Stevenson's own life and era shaped this story. We explore these questions and many more in our companion book, Golden Pages, Volume 1. The link can be found in the description. Good night. And if you like, we'll listen to each other again tomorrow.